Hi guys, Tracy Ann Doss. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about a documentary called Hey Beautiful. It's an anatomy of a romance scam, which is becoming quite an epidemic lately. So we do want to bring awareness to it, so that's what we're going to be doing today. So you can find this documentary on Hulu and Disney Plus, and it's a typical romance scam blowing up all over the world. You'll see a lot of similarities in the stories. And I just want to say before we get started, this video is for entertainment purposes only. So please like, share, and subscribe and help me build my community. The first woman we're going to talk about in this documentary is named Roxy. She's been married for 51 years and she and her husband have grown distant. He goes to bed early, she stays up late, and well, she gets on those games. And through this online game, she meets a man. And his name is Scott, and after playing a few games with him, they start a conversation and they start getting more personal and more intimate. And 3 months in, he asks her to start communicating on WhatsApp. This is a platform where you can communicate, but you can also send money through this app. So you'll see a lot of these scammers, they ask to transfer over to this app for, well, you'll figure out later, pretty obvious why. So Scott was an independent oil rigger, and he worked off the coast of Scotland, very romantic, and he had a child in private school, and he really painted a picture of affluence, which was very intriguing to Roxy. And he started sending her pictures every day. They talked every day, and the conversations got deeper and more intimate, and they spent a lot of time building this relationship. And a few months later, Scott tells Roxy he's in love with her. The next person we're going to talk about in the documentary is Annette. She is from Ontario, Canada, and she's been a server for about 40 years. She loves spending time at work with her customers, and she has 3 grandchildren. She has felt very controlled by her husband her whole marriage. And now that her kids are out of the home, she decides that things are going to change. And within 1 week, she got out of her marriage. She got in a huge fight with one of her stepkids, and her dog bit somebody, and she had to give away the dog. So really, her whole world imploded in just a very short time, and she became really depressed. And she went online to Facebook dating, and that's where she met Mark. He owns his own company in piping and gas, and he is from New York. And they just really hit it off and started talking every day. He started sending her pictures, told her about his wife who died of cancer. And he was really handsome. And he started to call her, and they spoke about the kids together. And that was their commonality. The other person in this documentary is Gabby. And she's from Frankfurt, Germany. She's very vivacious, and she received a message from a man on LinkedIn, and his name was Michael. He was a CEO of a gem company in London, and of course they talked for a while, and he asked her to switch over to WhatsApp. This is something to look out for, guys. And in WhatsApp, they started exchanging photos, and he told her he lost his wife to cancer. And not too soon after, he told Gabby that he had fallen in love with her. So she was eager to meet this beautiful man, and She wanted to meet him in person as soon as she could, so they arranged to meet in Berlin. And she went out to Berlin, got all settled into her hotel when she gets the text from Michael saying he can't make it. He's had some problems with his work. His gems are stuck in customs and he needs $5,000 to get them out of customs. And he just really has to handle this problem and he can't meet with her. Now, in Net's online love, Mark, he is really excited about the relationship as well. And he sends her a contract that he is going to be doing with Norway. And it's for millions of dollars. And Mark lets her know, hey, go find a house and a pool and we're going to start our life together. And I mean, that's hot, ladies. When a man says, go find us a house with a pool, you know, that's taking it to the next level. And so she's just excited about their future together. And it's pretty soon after that Mark sends her this contract that's worth millions of dollars, that he sends her this text and says that he needs gas money for the ship and that it was going to be $10,000 and he really needed her help. He loved her and he needed her help. So at the same time as these other women are being exploited for money, so's Roxy. She gets a message from her online love, Scott, that he's having equipment failure on his oil rig and he needs $1,000 to take care of this. And can she please lend him the money? He will pay her back. Now, even though Gabby and Michael had fallen deeply, deeply in love, she still wasn't so sure about sending such a large amount of money. So she asked him to send her a video of him because they've really just been communicating through messaging and pictures and stuff. And she wants an actual video. She wants to see him live. And that's where AI comes in, guys. She gets the video and it's really choppy, but she just assumes it's because he's on a ship, and so she lets it go. But when videos are really unclear and they're super choppy, that's usually an indication that AI is being used. But Gabby trusts that he's not lying to her, and this video made her feel safe. And so what happens next is these women start sending money. So Roxy sends the money Western Union, $1,000, and Annette transfers $10,000 because she would never let somebody that she was in love with be in a pickle like this. She was not that kind of person. She wanted to make sure they were okay. And Gabby sent the $5,000, but the odd thing about Gabby's situation is he sent the money back. And he said, you know what, we've run into more problems and it's just not enough money to help me. But of course, you know, that's the story in the beginning. But, you know, he'll ask her again. It won't be long. So as these women have sent the money, the men are starting to, you know, kind of up their game. And they're sending like sexy, raunchy type messages like, I crave you and I will lick you until you swear your allegiance to my empire. I mean, seriously, guys, but apparently this works. I don't know. I think it's pretty gross, but these women ate it up. They thought it was awesome. Now Gabby's story gets interesting because remember, the $5,000 is sent back to her. Well, Michael decides that he needs $25,000, not $5,000, $25,000. And this is kind of a common tactic that these scammers use. It's kind of a trust building thing. I don't know how it works, but it works. And Mark also decides that he needs more money than the original amount that Annette had sent. And there's now an explosion on his ship, and he needs an additional 30,000. So these women are into it a little bit with the money, but now the guys are up in their needs. So when Annette goes to the bank manager is very concerned. And the bank manager lets her know, this is a scam. And if anybody knows about scams, it's the banks. So if they tell you they're worried and it's a scam, then you should listen to them. And Roxy has a very similar experience at the bank. Scott sends her a check for $4,000 to pay her back for the $1,000 that she gave him plus interest. The bank contacts her within a day and says this check is fraudulent. And they closed her account, which, of course, is a big, huge red flag. And her husband finds out. And she has to tell him the whole story, that she's been talking to a guy online and that she gave him $1,000 of their money. And now everybody's mad at her. Her family's mad at her. Her husband's mad at her. And she knows she has been scammed. Well, Gabby's just absolutely desperate to meet Michael. And she wants to travel to Vietnam because now she hears that he's in the hospital. But because of Corona, she's unable to travel. And at the same time, Gabby's parents had passed away. And Gabby is going to sell the home. And Michael wants her to sell the home because he wants her to help him with his company, of course, give him money. So Michael insists that she sell it. If she really loves him, she will sell the house to help him financially. So she does. She sells it for 470,000 euros, and Michael tells her to put it into Bitcoin and transfer it to him. So Gabby uses an app called Panda, and Panda knew this was a scam right away. I mean, they've been through this a million times, and they let her know that this is fraudulent. And do you really want to send this money? And she says yes. And they tried to talk her out of it. You got to listen to the banks, you guys. They know what they're talking about. She's going back and forth with them, and she's getting really frustrated. So one day, while bragging to her girlfriend, Annette starts showing her friend Nicole all these beautiful pictures of the man that she's been dating online. And Nicole looks at these pictures, and she can tell these pictures have been doctored. She shows Annette, look, this is not legit. This is a doctored photo. And so what she does is she goes ahead and puts the picture in, and she reverse images the picture, and it shows another picture that is the real picture. And she can tell that somebody took the head of another person and put it on this picture. And so, of course, Annette realizes that she's been scammed, that this is not a real picture. And thank goodness for her friend Nicole telling her. So it really opens her eyes. But Roxy also realizes that she's been scammed, and she starts to investigate. And at the same time, Gabby and the other girls start to discover the truth. They find out that the real picture belongs to a gentleman named Brian Hagen, and not Scott, not Michael, and not Mark. The man's name's Brian. I believe it's hardest for Gabby to accept that she has been scammed because the amount of money that she has put out here. It's a big number, you guys. And she just can't accept it. So she reaches out to Michael, her scammer, and she explains that Big Panda won't accept this transaction. And so he writes a letter to on behalf of her to Big Panda, And of course, he knows all the right things to say. He probably already had this letter lying around, and he sent it to them, and they went ahead and allowed the purchases of the Bitcoin to go through. Remember, she's paying for his surgery, right? So in the second part of the documentary, we are now introduced to Brian and the actual man in the picture. He's a gay man from Los Angeles in the makeup industry, and we're also introduced to Brian's travels, and he's got a lot of pictures from his travels. And now he's a makeup artist, and he started doing online makeup tutorials when COVID happened, and they were really popular. So he continued on with these tutorials. But he was also an actor, and he really liked to portray himself as the tough, rugged, athletic man, because he really wanted to book those type of commercials, you know, those kind of truck commercials and that kind of thing. And so that's why these pictures were so appealing to these women. They were really those kind of hot, tough man type pictures, the type of man that could take care of you as a woman. Brian was so patient with these ladies. He listened to the stories, and he heard about all the money that was sent. So Annette told him that she had sent 40 grand, and Roxy sent 1,000, and Gabby sent 1.5 million. Devastating. Brian tried to help them accept that they'd been scammed, and they weren't the only ones. There was thousands of women that had reached out to Brian and told them their stories, and some were angry at him, and he had to explain to them, look, this is not me. These are my pictures, but I am not the one that you're talking to. Now, another woman that had reached out on behalf of her sister was named Sandy, and this story is just really devastating. Her sister actually died of a broken heart when she found out that she had been scammed of all of her money and that the love of her life was not real. Kathy's story is absolutely heartbreaking, mostly because Kathy's no longer with us. She died of a broken heart, according to her family, and when they found her, she was malnourished. She had given up so much money to her online lover, John Darren from the United Kingdom. I mean, he just kept up. He took everything he could from this woman. Mandy, Kathy's niece, and Sandy, Kathy's sister, learned about John when they started looking through her things and found all of these money orders for 20,000 here and 20,000 there. And they realized that in the 4 years that she was in this relationship, that she gave him over $300,000. And when a fire happened in her home, the insurance company sent her money for damages, and she even gave that money to John. She ended up in a little tiny apartment, malnourished at the end of her life. I mean, he took it all from her, you guys. He didn't leave her anything, not even to take care of herself. And when he realized she had no more money, he started to use her as a money mule. He had other women send her money, and she in turn sent the money to him or had it transferred into Bitcoin and sent to him. I mean, he made her into a criminal. Now, Ruth Grover's introduced in the story, and she is the founder of an online page called Scam Haters. She believes the reason why they use Brian's picture is because he's a very clean-cut looking guy, and he's very, very handsome, and he looks trustworthy. And thousands of women found that to be the case, and that's why they fell for him. Ruth has a similar story. When her husband passed away, she put on Facebook that she was a widower. And that's when the men came out of the woodworks and they went for her hard. And she saw the writing on the wall. She saw what these scammers were doing. And this made her try to turn her bad experience into something positive by warning women all over the world, you know, some of the signs of what to look for, like WhatsApp, and that these men often presented themselves as men who lost their wives to cancer, or men who worked in the construction industry overseas. There was a very common theme to these scammers, and she wanted to educate the public about this. Now, Gabby had such a hard time accepting that Brian's pictures were being used by some random scammers, and that there wasn't a man out there named Michael who was in love with her, that was going to sweep her off her feet, and he was worth tons of money, and they were going to live happily ever after. And she did not want to accept the fact that her $1.5 million was gone forever. So she decided that the only way she could cope was to find her money. She was going to hire somebody to find her money. Now, Annette, she handled it very differently. She wanted nothing to do with these memories, so she pretty much wiped her phone and her computer clean of anything that had anything to do with Mark. Now, Brian was also a victim in this online scam. I mean, his makeup tutorials were his livelihood, and it was almost impossible for his clients to find him when there was hundreds of different Brian Hoggins out there in the world. And they had his pictures, but they also had his name on. So his online presence was just a mess, and he really wanted to resolve that, but that was just so difficult. I mean, as quickly as he had these fake accounts taken down, they were new ones popping right back up again. Now, as horrifying as Kathy's story is, Kathy was a very organized woman, and she kept every single receipt. She kept every single withdrawal slip. I mean, she kept all the information, and really, you just needed to follow the money because her records were amazing. Roxy also had an interesting situation happen where her scammer reached out to her after 4 years and started all up again. And he asked her for $25, which seems small, but that was only the beginning. And Roxy, she's not stupid. She's like, I'm not falling for this again. So Roxy had reached out to a gentleman online that was an expert in this type of thing. And she hired him to help her find her scammer. And he said, ask this man for his Cash App information. And the scammer was stupid enough to send it. So this is some progress that we're making on the scammer. Now, Gabby and her investigation, she feels like she found somebody that's going to help her get her $1.5 million back. He was a former member of the Yahoo Boys, which are the exact people that do this worldwide. But for some reason, she thought this was the guy that was going to help her. And the Yahoo Boys is a huge criminal ring that started about 20 years ago in Nigeria and is expanded all over the world. And these are groups, thousands and thousands of groups of men that get together and work on these scams together. And he reached out to her, and she fell for it again. And he's explaining to her that, you know, it's really hard to find a job in Nigeria, and that they're just doing this to feed their families, right? The sob story. And for some reason, this made her feel bad, and she understood, and she sends this guy money to help her, and he's probably one of the original Yahoo boys that was stealing from her in the first place. Now, when Roxy finds a gentleman to help her, he is super legit, you guys. He's a cyber investigation analyst. His name is Paul Raphael, and he has been doing this for the past 10 years, and he's been busy. There's been a lot of work for Paul. And he's the one who told Roxy to go ahead and to ask the guy for his Cash App information, so we at least have some kind of way to follow the money or to get some information of who this guy is. And Paul explains to the girls and to Brian that just because these people use the same photos doesn't mean these are the same people. Thousands and thousands of people have used Brian's photos, and you know, they all work in groups, so understand that they're all sharing information. They're sharing photos, they're sharing scripts, and this is how they've become so successful. Do you guys all remember the Prince scam? I forget what country it was, but it was like some prince who had all this money, but he needed help getting his money out of customs, and so he would reach out to people all over the United States, and people were sending him money. And this was the same type of scam. It was a romance scam of the like 90s, I guess. And it was hugely successful. And this is just the new version of it. You know, these Yahoo boys, they love to show off online. They post pictures of themselves with a bunch of cash. And they get together in groups of a dozen. They call themselves Hustle Kingdoms. And they're very proud of what they do. So they book a room, and there's one person that's called the chatter, and then everybody else are the researchers. So as he's having a conversation with the victim, they are doing their homework, finding out, you know, their social media and reading about them and Googling them, and they're using this back at them. And oh yeah, I love wine. Yeah, I love to travel. And now all of a sudden, there's a connection. There's this commonality, and how they're so successful in what they do. This is why the scam's been going on for so long. The FBI is very aware of this group, and they're doing their best, but there's thousands of these people scattered all over the world. And there's one or two people at the top, and then they use all their minions to do their dirty work. So really, I mean, it'd be hard to pin anything on the kingpins. Well, you guys, the women, they don't get their money back. And Brian, he can't keep people from using his likeness. The Facebook pages that they're putting out are just too vast, and they're just one after the other. He gets one taken down, the next one pops up, and there's just nothing he can do about that. But what they can do is talk about their experiences and help thousands of people become more aware of romance scams, and maybe their horror story can help others. I hope you'll share this video so we can bring awareness to this problem, and none of our loved ones are going to fall victim to this. Okay, you guys, I will be putting out some more romance scam videos this week, and I hope you all stay safe and have a great week. Take care. Bye.